Hey guys, so this Guernsey collection is essentially what I think every team should wear in 2023. Instead of home, away and clash jumpers, I've given teams primary and secondary jumpers with some alternates for each of these. Essentially this should hopefully eliminate all clash issues. For the Crows, their primary jumper is the same as their current home, while their primary alternate is specifically designed for when Adelaide plays Hawthorn away. I've removed some of the red and yellow which causes the clash with Hawthorn, so the jumper is mostly navy. Their secondary jumper is a red clash Guernsey that also eliminates some of the navy and gold from their current clash, so red is the clear dominant colour. For Brisbane, their primary is the same as their current home and their primary alternate is the same as their current away jumper. Their secondary is a Bears inspired clash jumper. I don't know if it's the AFL that forces Brisbane to have a white clash jumper, but I think this one should work fine in games against the Suns and the Swans. Their secondary alternate is if they still need a white clash jumper. For Carlton, their primary is the same as their current home and their secondary is a light or sky blue clash jumper. Since most of their clashes are with teams such as Collingwood, Essendon and Fremantle, I think adding a lighter shade of blue would do a lot more to eliminate a clash rather than a white and navy jumper. For Collingwood, their primary again is the same as their current home. Their primary alternate is the swooping magpie Guernsey with darker stripes. This gives them a jumper that's a fair bit darker than their primary jumper and will lessen the potential clash against Geelong or North Melbourne. Their secondary is a clash version of the swooping magpie. For Essendon, their home jumper stays the same and their secondary is the same as their current clash, just with an actual black sash. Their secondary alternate is similar to the old grey clash jumper but with a much lighter shade of grey, mainly to be worn in away games against Brisbane and GWS. Now I've made some big changes for Freo. I've been a fan of the chevrons over the last 10 years or so, but I feel like the time has come to return to the unique identity of the club and bring back the anchor. So their primary jumper is the anchor Guernsey without the red and green, essentially just the old purple haze design, while for their primary alternate, I kinda like the idea of Freo wearing the classic home jumper from time to time throughout a season, specifically in derbies as it's a nice throwback to the history of the rivalry, but it also might add enough colour difference to allow Freo not to have to wear a clash jumper in away derbies. The secondary jumper is the old white and purple anchor jumper, and for the secondary alternate I've brought back the retro away jumper, not only because it was pretty popular in Retro Round 2021, but it would also work as a darker jumper when playing away against teams like Geelong. Now for Geelong we've kept their home jumper the same. For their secondary it's a navy clash jumper for away games against North Melbourne. I've gone with light navy, hoops and a monogram as less white on this jumper is just better to eliminate any potential clash. For Gold Coast I've gone for my Rising Sun rebrand design. I've probably shown this on the channel once or twice before. For the primary alternate, it's the old wave jumper for any matchup where a little less gold could help avoid clashes. Their secondary is just an inverse of the primary jumper, finally giving the Suns a mostly gold away jumper. And their secondary alternate is a white clash version of this same design. There is a chance the Suns would be better with a blue clash for games against Sydney, but it's my preference for them to not have a blue jumper at all if possible. GWS, and their primary is the same as the old home with a charcoal back. When executed properly, the old design is significantly better than their current home jumper. For their primary alternate, the black Never Surrender jumper is for games against Sydney. Their secondary is just an orange clash version of this same design. For Hawthorn, their jumpers are largely the same. Their secondary will be a brown clash jumper for any time the gold may clash. Melbourne, their home jumper remains the same. Their primary alternate will be the Flaming Demon jumper, both because it makes the jumper a little darker with less red, and let's face it, it's also just a great look. For their secondary alternate, it's a red version of the Flaming Demon jumper. The D's do need a red clash jumper, and this one serves the purpose and looks great as well. For North Melbourne, their primary alternate will be the classic Bounding Roo jumper. We need to see more of this jumper throughout the season, that's for sure. Their secondary jumper is the old blue jumper that they used to wear as a home jumper for the last few seasons. This will work as an away or clash Guernsey. Why they didn't use this jumper as their clash in 2022 just doesn't make any sense. For their secondary alternate, we've gone for a blue inverse of the Bounding Roo. I feel this with blue shorts would serve as an even better clash jumper against Geelong. For Port Adelaide, we've made some big changes as well. Their primary is the same as one of their previous away jumpers. Much like Freo and the chevrons, I feel like the basic V designs are starting to get a bit bland, especially when both Freo and Port have historic jumpers that'd look great in the modern day, and that also represent their team identity right there on the jumper. Their primary alternate is the prison bar jumper, just for showdowns because, let's face it, Collingwood should have no say over this. and their secondary is just a white clash version of the primary jumper. No change for Richmond. I think they've got a great set of guernseys, so keep them both the same. For St Kilda, the home jumper stays the same. Their primary alternate is a black version of the Crusader jumper. If it was up to me, I'd make this the Saints home jumper, but there's probably too much attachment to the classic tri-panel from Saints fans. Their secondary alternate is a white version of this Crusader jumper for away games against the Swans and the Suns. Sydney stay the same, no need to change their jumpers here. For West Coast, the home and the clash stay the same. For their primary alternate, I've given a navy version of the current Wings jumper. It's probably not that popular and maybe not that needed, but now their jumper set really represents all eras of their history. For the Western Bulldogs, I've made probably an unpopular change, but I've gone for bringing back the Robo Dog jumper. Seeing it again in Heritage Round in 2022 just made me realise how much I kind of missed it, and even though we've loved the hoop jumper that the Bulldogs have been wearing, I'm kind of keen to see the Robo Dog make a return. So those are what I think every team should wear in 2023. Leave your thoughts below and any ideas you have for new jumpers you'd like to see the teams wear. And until next time guys, see you later.